Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're enjoying your holidays, Christmas holidays. I didn't really take a holiday, but since Christmas fell like in the middle of the week, meant that I took a few days off anyway. I really like Christmas holidays. I don't know why. I think it's just the end of the year. Everyone gets really festive and feels good. So you might remember I did a video a few months ago reading out travel vlogs, and I thought I would do another one of those today. You guys replied with a bunch of different countries you were interested in, and someone suggested I look into Argentina, specifically Buenos Aires, which I have been to before, but very briefly, and it was a long time ago. And I have wanted to go back, but it just didn't seem economically like a good idea. When I visited South America, I had a lot of Argentinians tell me not to go. So that's why I didn't end up spending much time there, but it seems to be getting better now, hopefully. If you are Spanish speaking, you're probably going to hate the way that I say Buenos Aires because it's just the way we say it in English-speaking countries. But I did look up how you say it properly, and it seems like it's more like Buenos Aires. But if I say that too much, I'm going to feel like a poser. If I was in Argentina, I probably would refer to it as Buenos Aires, just to be in line with the culture. Anyway, let's get into it. I've got a few vlogs to read today. I think I picked out 3 that I found to be informative and interesting. So the first one I have for you is by this vlog. Oops, I booked it again. And it's called What It's Like to Live in Buenos Aires. Of all the cities I traveled to in South America, Buenos Aires is one that I can see myself going back to again. Having spent over 3 months in Argentina, it's a country that I've grown to become very fond of during my travels. My first city in South America, I had previously spent 10 days over winter. Now summer was looming, it was a completely different city, and I couldn't wait to get to know it. I spent mornings dipping buttery medialunas into freshly brewed lattes, afternoons exploring the city by bike, evenings in milongas learning tango from the pros, summer nights on rooftops getting to know friends I'd made at the Mate Club, Saturday mornings playing touch rugby with the expats, Sundays drooling over empanadas in San Telmo, and not forgetting my attempt to solve a murder mystery in Spanish at an escape room. Well, that would be interesting. I did an escape room in English and it was hard. I lived in Buenos Aires, hung out, spent my days working on my blog, explored the sights, sounds, and smells of a beautiful city infused with European and Latin American culture. Here are a few of the things I got up to in Buenos Aires. A lot of these vlogs would say how European the vibe of the city is, which is kind of cool. I've seen some of the footage. It really does look Parisian at times. And apparently they have really good Italian food, so yay. Rooftop views of Buenos Aires, like that there. I always love a rooftop. I'm obsessed with rooftops. Let's see if I can pronounce this museum. Espacio Memoria y Derechos Humanos Museum. A little ant on my microphone. This is one museum that will haunt my memories for a long time to come. During the military dictatorship of the 1970s to 80s, many thousands of people were tortured and killed in the same building where officers lived and trained. I could feel chills rolling down my spine as I walked around the building. It's an eerie experience, but one that is essential if you want to learn more about a part of history that still has an impact on how people live today. The stories told are shocking and provoking. It can be pretty upsetting in parts too. The crimes committed are still being investigated, so you're advised not to touch anything inside as it could tamper with evidence. Entry is free. You can take a bus directly there. It's good to know. Next is the El Ateneo Grand Splendid. One of my favorite bookshops, El Ateneo Grand Splendid is a great place of having a ponder, especially when attempting to escape a heat wave. One of the most beautiful bookstores in the world. I spent a couple of afternoons on the sofas reading while sipping a cup of coffee. There's better pictures than just that. Hopefully in the next blogs it would show more of them. For some reason they only seem to have Marvel comic books. Couldn't find the DC ones anywhere. Numerous buses will get you there. Discovering Buenos Aires by bike. Buenos Aires has a really great system of bikes which are free to use and sign up to, even for a tourist. If you have a couple of hours free, head down to the local comuna with your passport and register. They'll give you a card which you can use to take the bike and set up your account on the mobile application. You get a free hour on weekdays and 2 free hours at a time on weekends. You can take a bike out as many times as you like during the day. Buenos Aires is pretty much flat, so it's the perfect city to explore using your bike. With designated bike lanes, you can avoid having to cycle in congested roads alongside traffic. I'd really recommend cycling around the ecological park and along Puerto Madero. The parks in the north of Palermo are great at exploring the northern parts of Buenos Aires. So it looks like you just download the app BA Bicicleta. I think we all know how to use those bicycle apps by now. I'm kind of a country bumpkin though. We don't have services like this where I live, but I've lived in some of the biggest cities in the world, so I should know this stuff by now. Dine on pizza mozzarella at El Guerin. This is a famous pizza parlor, I believe. If you're heading to El Guerin during Argentine dinner time, typically between 9 and 11 p.m., you'll be standing in a line that extends beyond the exterior of the restaurant. Ask any Argentinian, there's only one type of pizza that's worth getting here, and that's a humble slice of the famous mozzarella. It's so good that it's pretty much the only pizza that flies off the shelf, and it's almost always fresh out of the oven. A couple of slices are enough to satisfy. Eaten standing up, at times it's so crowded you're elbow to elbow with the guy next to you. A slice of pizza is around $1 US. That's so amazing. But I don't know when this blog was written. I feel like I was reading. There was a bit of change in prices over the last year, but I'm hoping that that's gotten better now. Not just for me, for the Argentinians that live there, obviously. Yeah, I like pizza. There's also like Argentinian barbecue. I love barbecue too. Go for a dulce de leche tasting in San Telmo. There are 3 things that Argentinians can't live without. They're great meat, mate, and dulce de leche. Argentina is the place to get your dulce de leche taste buds tickling. It's pretty much the Argentinian national peanut butter or jam. San Telmo has a variety of places to go and try, and I'd highly recommend it. The caramel one is my favorite. Don't forget to take some home with you as a souvenir. So cute. Head to Mate Club. I like this. It's a lot about food, which is probably one of my favorite things to try in other countries. Mate is a traditional Argentinian drink that is usually shared. I got so into mate when I was in South America. I was like, I wanted to buy the whole mate cup, and then as soon as I got back to Australia, I just like forgot all about it, even though it's pretty popular here too now. It's like smoking, you know, if you've got like what they call it, like an oral fixation. The best way to describe its taste is that it's a bit like tea. Maybe a bit like green tea, if I remember correctly. Most people don't particularly like the taste when they first try it, but after a while you start to enjoy it. Sharing mate is a sociable way of getting to know and bond with people. Mate Club is a language exchange where foreigners and locals meet up and exchange conversation in Spanish and English. It's a bit like a linguistic version of speed dating and a great way to meet people and practice your Spanish with locals. There's numerous locations throughout the week. 200 Argentinian pesos. Let's just quickly look up what that would be. Peso to, we'll go US dollar. The Australian dollar is so bad right now. 20 cents. Is that really what that's saying? Does that sound kind of crazy to you guys? I was not expecting that. What is it in Australian? 30 cents. Wow. Okay. Sounds just great. A day trip to San Antonio de Areco from Buenos Aires. If you're looking to get out of Buenos Aires for the day, San Antonio de Areco could be the perfect spot. Famous for its gaucho scene, there are a number of tours available where you can hang out with the cowboys of Argentina. The town itself is small and quaint, with a number of restaurants and cafes. Don't forget your camera, as it's the perfect place to snap away for an afternoon. That's really beautiful. Number of buses that leave during the day. The cost of a return trip, €9. Watching the lunar eclipse. One evening I noticed how prominent the moon looked and mentioned to my friend how beautiful it was. After a quick Google search, he found out that there would be a lunar eclipse that evening. On the 21st of Jan 2019, I watched my first lunar eclipse from the terrace of my apartment, where the moon shone blood red. It was amazing to be able to experience this. On a clear summer night with the stars twinkling, it was one of my highlights. So 2019, that's like 6 years ago now. So yeah, some of these prices are going to be out of date. Getting to level 3 of tango. There are a number of places in Buenos Aires to take tango classes, most notably La Viruta and La Catedra, the cathedral. For me, however, I found that D&I had the best format of classes where instructions would be given in Spanish and English, and there would be a number of assistants to help out during the class. It's a great way to meet people and head to a milonga after class, often to La Catedral. It's pretty amazing when you have no idea how to dance and you last a whole song without stepping on your partner's feet. Class is around 150 to 180 pesos. Getting to know the neighborhoods of Buenos Aires better. When exploring Buenos Aires, you're spoiled for choice on where to explore. From the hipster vibes of Palermo to the elaborate architecture of Recoleta, simply take a stroll from one barrio to the next. If you're captured by the energetic and lively spirit of La Boca, take a casual ponder over to more colonial San Telmo to catch some seductive street tango. Or maybe the riverside chic of Puerto Madero might be more of your thing for a slothful summer afternoon. Whether it's the neighbouring barrios of tranquil Villa Crespo. I wonder if that's actually how they say Villa Crespo. Like when I was in Mexico, the double L was pronounced like a Y sound. When I was in South America, they would pronounce it with a sh sound. So I wonder if they would actually call that Villa Crespo, or maybe that doesn't apply. Anyway, or historical and bustling microcentro, Buenos Aires is very much the dynamic and cosmopolitan hub of Latin America. Palermo is the most trendy and fashionable place to be, with all the hip bars, restaurants and modern cafes. It's one of my favourite neighbourhoods, mainly due to the green spaces in the north. Foodie lovers like me will love the hip and cool vibes of San Telmo. On a Sunday, try the mouth-watering famous empanadas at El Hornero. It can also be worth popping by on a weekday if you prefer to avoid the queues. Naturally, I spend more time in each of the neighbourhoods and even hopped around on Airbnb apartments. Villa Crespo was a great place to stay due to its proximity to Palermo, and you can get more for your buck. I loved having my own private apartment for a few weeks where I could wind down and really have my own space. Not to mention the asado grill that came with it was an added bonus. Spending more time in different barrios meant I could head out with my camera and snap away. Buenos Aires is a really photogenic city, so if you can get a few spare hours, casually stroll around with a camera in hand. I love this type of colourful architecture. I'm just so not used to seeing where I live. So this is La Boca in San Telmo. Summer nights on rooftop bars. For a city that starts a night out at 2 a.m, even on Sundays, the nightlife will not disappoint. Between the dazzling limelight of Palermo to sexy and supremely confident tango shows in San Telmo, chilling out with porteños, locals from Buenos Aires, after work on a lazy afternoon was one of my highlights. Argentinians are really friendly and will be more than welcome to help you practice your Spanish if you can keep up with theirs. It is hard. It was hard going from Mexico and their Spanish down to South America. They speak way faster. I think Mexicans are used to dealing with gringos a bit more, maybe. Summer in Buenos Aires meant one thing: being outdoors and enjoying the amazing weather. After freezing my butt off for most of South America, I relished in warm, long summer evenings. There are a number of rooftop bars in Buenos Aires. I loved Esquina, Libertad, Bar Soria in Palermo, and Post Street Bar. For the aspiring polyglots out there, Bar Soria hosts a language exchange on Thursday evenings, another great way to meet people in town, especially if you're a solo traveller. For a great speakeasy, I'd recommend Bar 878. Admiring the beautiful sunsets. I'm a sucker for a great sunset, and there's nothing that stops me on the spot more than a sky lit up in an array of shades in red, pink and yellow. My apartment had a great unlocked rooftop where I could spend my evenings. I love that. I love when I can find that in a place. Look at that. It's so pretty. That sky is so beautiful. If you're unable to get onto your rooftop, then the best next bet would be to find a bar or hotel. Sky Bar has some amazing views. Coffee shop hopping around Palermo. I love a good cup of coffee, and there's no shortage of places to get your favorite beverage in Buenos Aires. There's Lab Coffee Shop, a training center and a coffee shop. It's a really cool cafe and known for some of the best coffee in Buenos Aires. A nice little hangout spot for a couple of hours. Looks like most of these are in Palermo. I don't know if I can pronounce these. Sigalo? Sigalo. With really good Wi-Fi, you'll probably find people hanging out here with their laptop. Great coffee and pastries, a cute little stop-off point on your way through Palermo. Ninina. Whether it's for lunch, coffee, or a nice cup of tea, Ninina is slightly pricier, but worth it for the great breakfast options they offer. And Cafe Floor. If you're looking for a co-working space, Cafe Floor has great Wi-Fi and unlimited snacks and coffee. The staff are great and you don't need a membership to use the space. Spending New Year's in Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires is surprisingly quiet for New Year's in a big city. Most locals tend to leave and many head to Uruguay or Mar del Plata. When I was in South America, I stayed in a beach town called Punta del Diablo, and apparently a lot of Argentinians and Brazilians would go there over the Christmas break. So when asking locals on where the best spots for New Year's in Buenos Aires are, I was left without much of a lead. They all pretty much agreed that if you head to Palermo, you'll have a good time. That's what I did. I spent my New Year's toasting with my Airbnb family, and around 1 a.m. I headed to a bar to meet up with a friend I'd met in Patagonia. We headed to Victoria Brown for a lively evening on the town. Eat, and eat. Argentina has some great food. Admittedly, when I head back to Europe, I'll probably go back to eating little to no meat. When in Argentina, though, head to the markets, butchers, and enjoy what's best, cooking with local ingredients. There's the barbecue, getting that asado grill going. Fun fact, the first thing I learned in Spanish was all the different cuts of meat. So where to stay in Buenos Aires? When I first arrived in Buenos Aires in the winter, I stayed in the Chill House Hostel, located conveniently near my favorite milongas. The nearest subway station is Carlos Gardel. This location is conveniently very central. I generally found that the price of a cute Airbnb matched that of a decent hostel, so I spent most of my time hopping around the city, from Palermo to Villa Crespo and Caballito, I don't know. If you go a little outside of Palermo, you'll find more for your dollar, with perhaps a slightly longer walk or a short bus ride in. Palermo, San Telmo, and Recoleta. On a side note, be mindful that there are areas in Buenos Aires you'll want to stay away from, especially in the evening. La Boca is one of them. While it's lovely during the day, generally the locals advise not to wander around after dark. The same goes for Retiro, the area around the train station. Buenos Aires feels very much like a European city, and it's easy to let your guard down. Always stay vigilant and be mindful of where you're walking, especially in the evening. Oh, and watch out for the motorbikes riding by close to you. The phone snatchers are common. And that was Buenos Aires, a vibrant melting pot of cultural mix that proudly holds the title of the Paris of South America. Leaving to go to Uruguay felt strange, as I had somehow made Buenos Aires a home away from home. I was almost reluctant to go. Maybe someday I'll be back. I have a feeling I might be. I don't know, you feeling like visiting yet? The next blog I have is this one by Soul Salute. 20 best things to do in Buenos Aires. There are enough things to do in Buenos Aires to keep you busy for weeks on end. This city is huge. It's the capital city of the 8th largest country in the world. A third of Argentina's entire population all reside in and around Buenos Aires. Everything happens here, from culture, museums, concerts, theatre, the best dining experiences, to outdoor markets, to politics. Buenos Aires is the hub for literally everything in Argentina, and it can be overwhelming when planning a trip to a city this large. Seems like it's not loading properly. There we go. So where do you start? What can't you miss? Don't worry, I've got your back. This post is consolidated, easy to follow guide to the best things to do in Buenos Aires. With these tours, neighborhoods and tips, I promise you'll see everything. So probably some of these things might overlap with the last blog, but that's okay. I'm just scrolling all the way down here. So number 1, go on a city tour. That's La Boca. One of the best ways to see a city efficiently is by going on a city tour, by car, walking, bike, or a hop-on, hop-off bus. Pick your poison. You're able to cover a lot of ground this way, seeing various areas of the city while learning everything you can from a local guide. A tip: do this at the start of your trip so that you have a time to revisit any place you particularly enjoyed. With these top tours below, you'll see the most important Buenos Aires attractions: La Boca, El Obelisco, Plaza de Mayo, the Recoleta Cemetery, San Telmo, Puerto Madero, and more. The walking tour, this is great because it's with a local guide and hits up all the top Buenos Aires places to visit, giving you a great overview of the city. Buenos Aires by car. I've said it already a few times, this is a large city. Hiring a driver to take you to all the big sites is a great introduction to a longer stay or a quick visit on a short stay. Bike tours. Another great way to tour the city is by bike. Take the South Circuit to bike through La Boca, San Telmo, and Plaza de Mayo. The North Circuit explores Recoleta, Palermo, and the parks. And then the hop-on, hop-off bus. This is classic in any big city. It's a great way to see the entire city in one fell swoop, but keep in mind that in the busy season, summer, lines can get very long at popular spots, and the audio is said to be very patchy and unreliable. Using it as transport or in low season is ideal. Number 2, experience the passion of tango. Seeing tango is one of the absolute most essential things to do in Buenos Aires. To really lose yourself in the dance and to feel the passion, I recommend going to a proper tango show. There are a lot to choose from and there's something for all budgets. Read my post to compare my favorite tango shows. Or just book that one there. So I don't know what's going on with this website, but I'm going to have to keep reloading it. If a tango show isn't your budget, there's a milonga in Plaza Dorrego at 7:30 every Sunday night following the San Telmo market. Locals turn up every week to dance. It's an authentic and free experience that's not to be missed. To see where locals go to practice, visit a milonga or tango dance hall. I'm recommending a tour there. For a cheesy tango souvenir, street performers in La Boca pose for photos with tourists at the Caminito. You can say you're doing it ironically, but I promise you'll love it. Number 3, eat all the steak. If you're a carnivore, welcome to paradise. Argentina does beef right. Visit the city's many steakhouses while in town. They've got a steak guide for favorite restaurants and to learn how to navigate the menu. You can easily spend a week or two trying to get a taste of all the best things to eat in Buenos Aires. There's much more than just steak, such as empanadas, pizza, pastas, and an entire world of sweets. If you don't have that kind of time, reserve a night at Fogon Asado. This dining experience takes the traditional Argentine asado and turns it on its head, creating an 8-course fine dining experience. The open kitchen design keeps you interacting with the chefs as they cook your dinner step by step. I loved my meal here. The food was incredible and the overall experience was very fun. Looking for something a little more fun, the same company also operates Criolla, I can't pronounce that one, Cooking and Wine. It's an interactive cooking class that caps off with a delectable steak dinner and all the treats you just learned to cook. We learned how to make empanadas, chipa, and more. And there was wine tasting. It was chef's kiss perfection. Number 4, go wine tasting. Yes, I would like to do that too. Sol Salud, your website is funny. You have to keep reloading it. There are 2 national beverages here in Argentina, yerba mate and of course wine. Wine tasting in Buenos Aires is one of the best things to do here in the evening before those infamous late night dinners. In recent years, there's been a surge of wine bars opening across the city. The owners are passionate about their wine, and you can usually find rare bottles that you won't see on the shelves of the supermarkets. A few of my favorites, Pain et Vin, Vico, and Hache, all in Palermo. You'll be sure to try some fantastic wines at any of these bars with the service guidance. If you want to delve deeper and learn the history of wine in Argentina, reserve this Argentine wine tour. And did you know there are even a few wineries in Buenos Aires in the province that make excellent day trips from Buenos Aires? I did not know that. Number 5, spend a Saturday in Recoleta. No trip to Argentina is complete without visiting Recoleta's cemetery, easily one of the most famous places in Buenos Aires. Let's see if they have any pictures. Okay, I think here we go. Here's some of them. It's like these little walkways with all, I don't know if that's actually it, but it kind of looks like that. The view of the cemetery from the mall's food court. Okay, so that is, look at that. Doesn't that look amazing? It looks like a little mini city. Back to the main site now. If your itinerary allows, I'd recommend visiting on a weekend. There's an artesian market every Saturday and Sunday in the square in front of the cemetery. It's one of my favorite ways to spend a beautiful weekend afternoon. Pick up some unique souvenirs and watch the street performers as you lounge on the grass. While here, visit all of the nearby Recoleta sites, the cemetery, the Floralis, Genetica, flower statue, the law school, the Fine Arts Museum, Bellas Artes, and the posh Parisian-like mansions on Avenida Alvear. If you can't visit on a weekend, any day of the week is great for Recoleta. You'll only be missing the market. Next thing they recommend is to shop in the Sunday San Telmo market. That's it there. One of the most iconic things to do in Buenos Aires is the Sunday market in San Telmo. San Telmo is my favorite neighborhood for Buenos Aires sightseeing, and it really comes to life on Sundays. The market runs the length of Defensa Street, starting in Plaza de Mayo. It doesn't really get going until after lunch, so enjoy a lazy start to the day. Then head to Plaza de Mayo, where you can see the Casa Rosada, the Metropolitan Cathedral, and the Cabildo. From here, make your way slowly down Defensa into the market. There are antiques, jewellery, handicrafts, street performers, and the best of all, street food. The pace will be slow going thanks to the throngs of people shuffling along, so take your time and peruse the booths as you go. The market hits its peak at Plaza Dorego. This is where the antiques are. Keep in mind that these stands start closing up shop at about 5 p.m, earlier than those on the street. And don't miss the indoor San Telmo market with antique vendors and restaurant stalls. It occupies an entire city block on Defensa between Estados Unidos and Carlos Calvo streets. But it looks like you can still go to San Telmo. You'll still love it. The historic neighborhood is much calmer without the market, and you can still search for antiques in the indoor market. They recommend seeing it on a Sunday and on a weekday to see both sides. Number 7, be a gaucho for a day at the Estancia. Get a taste of Argentina's rural culture by taking a day trip to one of the many working ranches or estancias in Buenos Aires' surrounding countryside. The best estancias near Buenos Aires all offer a full day of planned activities called a Dia de Campo and include transportation to and from the city. The actual itinerary depends on the estancia, but all offer more or less the same thing. Horseback rides, a complete asado, barbecue, lunch, a folkloric music show, and tea time to end the day. To see one of Argentina's cutest small towns, combine your estancia visit with a visit to San Antonio de Areco. Number 8. Explore Tigres River Delta. Another great day trip from Buenos Aires is to the Parana River Delta in Tigre. Take a river taxi or hire a private boat and glide through the many arms of the river, exploring the tropical islands just an hour north of downtown Buenos Aires. That kind of sounds nice, exploring the tropical islands. That doesn't look very tropical though. I like the sounds of that though. You can go it alone by taking the train from Retiro to Tigre. Once there, take one of the lanchas or water taxis to Tres Bocas, the most popular island. There are a couple of restaurants here to stop for lunch after walking through the pathways and admiring the stilted homes. If you have the budget, hiring a private boat tour is ideal. Since the water taxis operate more like a city bus with programmed stops, you'll see much more of the delta with your own boat and leave the crowds behind. It's run by a Tigre local who will take you out on the water, allowing you to see locations not reachable otherwise. Number 9, see the street art. Oh, that's very amazing. Buenos Aires is one of the best cities in the world for street art. Lax regulations require that the artist only needs permission from the building owner. In fact, many owners hire artists to decorate their facades. So leave the idea of graffiti as vandalism at the door. Buenos Aires street art is art, pure and simple. It's also everywhere. You don't need much help finding some of the city's best murals. Just keep your eyes open as you explore. To find the most famous pieces or the best mural-filled neighborhoods, read my Buenos Aires street art guide. And while you don't need a guide to find the murals, it sure helps to understand who the artists are and the meaning behind their work. Here are 3 great tours. We've got Palermo, Chacarita and more. Dive into the most popular barrios for street art with this tour of Palermo, Soho and surroundings. BA street art. This tour goes into residential Villa Urquiza and Coglan. I don't know how to say that. And is put on by one of the most important street art organizations in the city. Biking San Telmo and La Boca, a bit more active on the bike. You'll go off the beaten path in La Boca, Baracas, and more. Number 10, spend an afternoon in Palermo. Looks like a cool place to walk around. While most big cities come with a list of iconic landmarks to check off as you go, the best way to see Buenos Aires is by experiencing its neighborhoods. And one of the coolest barrios in Buenos Aires is without a doubt Palermo. The neighborhood is huge and is divided into a few mini neighborhoods of sorts. One of these, my favorite, is Palermo Soho. This area, most notably the blocks surrounding Plaza Armenia and Plaza Serrano, is filled to the brim with cute boutiques, sidewalk cafes, bars, the city's best restaurants, and some of the coolest street art in town. Dedicate a whole afternoon to wander and indulge here. I recommend saving it for a day when you're tired of non-stop touring and in need of a laid-back day. Window shop, or actually shop, have a beer at one of the many bars, rooftop terraces, or a coffee on the sidewalk under the canopy of trees that tower over the cobblestones. For dinner, cross Juan B. Justo Avenue into Palermo Hollywood, another section of the greater Palermo. The restaurants and bars here represent the city's best nightlife. And if you have more than a few days to explore the city, here are more Buenos Aires places to visit to round out your itinerary. Visit El Ateneo Grand Splendid. This is actually a really good picture of it. This amazing ceiling, this cool old school stage there. Pretty cool bookstore. And they've got some other bookstores here that they recommend. Libros del Pasaje and La Libreria de Avila. Number 12, attend an asado. Yes, must be done. Parillas, which again might be said like parishas. Hopefully an Argentinian can correct me in the comments. A local steakhouse are great and all, but nothing beats an asado. These local barbecues are a vital part of Argentine culture. I never let friends visit without throwing them an asado in my backyard. It's also my favorite way to celebrate my birthday every year. Unfortunately, there's no way to access an asado unless you know someone who can invite you to one. Luckily, there's a food tour doing just that. Asado Adventure is a food tour in Palermo, Soho that brings you into a local's home. You learn all about the neighborhood's history, go shopping for the meat, and learn all things asado. I went on this tour recently and absolutely loved it. We ate much more than just the meat too, trying all sorts of things from yerba mate to regional salami and cheese. And 13, visit a bar notable beyond Tortoni. Cafe Tortoni is the oldest cafe in the city. It's on everyone's Buenos Aires must-see list, but in reality, it's only one of the city's many historic cafes. Bares notables are historic bars and cafes that are officially recognized by the city government for their cultural importance. There are dozens to choose from, and they offer an authentic Buenos Aires experience. Order sidra torrada, cider on tap, to drink like local. If it's late afternoon, you can replace your modern happy hour with a copetin or seltzer water combined with red wine or vermouth. Why not? Most also have full kitchens, so you can grab a greasy lunch like a milanesa or get pastry and coffee for breakfast. Number 14, become a football hooligan. Seems like you might have to do that in Argentina, it's pretty big. Between Maradona and Messi, the World Cup, and the rival local teams of Boca and River, it's easy to see that football is big in Argentina. Going to a game on your own is nearly impossible if you're not a member of that particular team's club. So if you want to experience a game, you have to book with an operator that can hook you up with a local. If you don't want to go to a game, you can tour the stadiums of La Boca and River. These are the biggest teams in Buenos Aires, and seeing both stadiums is a must for football fans. Big fan of soccer and steak? Grab lunch or dinner at La Brigada, a San Telmo steakhouse brimming with soccer paraphernalia. Number 15, relax in the Jardín Botánico, the botanical gardens, which look really beautiful. Usually botanical gardens are. Despite being a veritable urban jungle, Buenos Aires features a number of epic parks to escape the chaos of the city streets. The most beautiful is easily the Jardín Botánico, housing nearly 6,000 species of plants, flowers and trees, organized by geographical region. And fun fact, the garden's complete name is Jardín Botánico Carlos Thays, paying homage to the city's most important landscape architect. Carlos Thays is responsible for nearly all of the parks in the city and for the trees that bloom in the streets. He designed the gardens of many an estancia and even designed an entire neighborhood, Barrio Parque in Palermo. Entrance is free of charge and the gardens are open Tuesdays through Sundays, closed Mondays. The gardens are next to one of the city's busiest intersections in Plaza Italia, but you'll feel miles away once you're inside. 16, tour the city's many art museums. That's something that most people do, I think, when they travel. I didn't used to when I was younger, but I appreciate them more now. Buenos Aires sightseeing wouldn't be complete without a visit to one of the city's many art museums. With so many to choose from, there's something for every taste. The Museum of Latin American Art of Buenos Aires. This modern museum features an impressive permanent collection and temporary exhibits. Open every day except for Tuesdays. Tickets are discounted on Wednesdays. The Museo Nacional de Arte Decorativo. This mansion-turned-museum is just a few blocks from Malba, so I recommend visiting them together. Entrance is free and the home itself is more impressive than the exhibits. Closed Monday and Tuesdays. And the Museo Nacional de Bellas Artes. The Fine Arts Museum is in Recoleta, across the street from the Floralis Genetica, steps from the famous cemetery. Museo Benito Quinquela Martin. Quinquela was one of the most iconic artists from Buenos Aires. Hailing from La Boca, he painted daily scenes of the port and its people. PROA is a modern art museum in La Boca, right on the water in Caminito, a stone's throw from the Quinquela's museum. Don't miss the cafe on the rooftop for beautiful views of the port. I'm really digging all of the rooftop vibes in this city. And the Museo de Arte Moderno. Some of these names feel like they'll be easier to say in Italian, like Moderno. For more modern art, head to Mamba in San Telmo at the corner of San Juan and Defensa. 17. Feel regal in Buenos Aires' many palaces. Teatro Colón is epic, but it's only one of the city's many palaces, and yes, the word they use to describe them is accurate. What does that mean? These are mansions that echo the grandeur of Buenos Aires' wealthy past, and you can see them in a number of ways. Many mansions and palaces provide regular guided tours, but they can be tough to organize for tourists. Hours are limited, the tours are almost always in Spanish, and you have to email directly to reserve. The easiest way to visit them is by going to the ones that are open to the public thanks to their in-house cafe. Croquet Madame is a chain of cafes with locations in a number of the city's most beautiful historic buildings and museums. To see 3 of their cafes in the city's most impressive palacios, visit Palacio Paz in Plaza San Martin downtown, Circolo Italiano in Recoleta, not far from the cemetery, or in the Museo Nacional de Arte Decorativo in Recoleta. Number 18, go to the opera at Teatro Colón. Wow, that's pretty spectacular. A show in Teatro Colón is an experience you'll never forget. I saw Juanes play here in a special summer series. Juanes may have lacked the elegance of the opera, but seeing him sing along with an orchestra was an incredible show. If you don't want to go to a performance, definitely go on a guided tour. Currently there are only English language tours at 1 and 3 p.m. And for even more Teatro Colón, visit Colón Fabrica when you're in La Boca. This warehouse is filled with costumes, special effects, and all things behind the scenes. It could be fun. And of course, 19, see all things Evita. Love her or hate her, Evita's importance in Argentina's political history can't be denied. You'll see her everywhere, from the 100 peso notes in your wallet to posters for modern political campaigns. There's an Evita city tour if you want a guided tour to see all of the Evita sites in Buenos Aires. I enjoyed this tour with Detour BA. It gives you a great history and background with Evita-themed foodie stops along the way. Or start your own Evita scavenger hunt by finding the balcony at the Casa Rosada where Madonna was depicted singing Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. You can visit her grave in the Recoleta Cemetery under the family name Duarte. When in Palermo, go to Museo Evita to learn all about her. It's just a few blocks from the Jardín Botánico. The museum has a beautiful patio for lunch as well. For a rousing dinner, go to Perón in Palermo, Hollywood. This politically themed restaurant is an ode to all things Juan and Evita Perón. The entire restaurant is practically a shrine to Evita and everything she stood for. They even regularly burst into song, singing the political anthem. For a glimpse of the place and its Perón fanatic owner, check out the Buenos Aires episode of Somebody Feed Phil on Netflix. And number 20, wander the city's off-the-beaten-path neighborhoods. Yes, this is probably an important part of traveling. I want to get out of the city center and explore Buenos Aires' more residential barrios. Neighborhoods on the northern side of town have seen a boom in the past few years. Barrios like Núñez and Saavedra are just past Belgrano on the northern edge of town. You can reach them with the Subte Line D, taking it to the final station, Congreso de Tucumán. Restaurants and cafes have been opening up in droves in these previously sleepy areas. It should come as no surprise though, as Argentines rarely leave the neighborhood they grew up in. Wanting to stay close to home, a new generation is looking to buy in their childhood barrios. And with that new generation comes new trends like specialty coffee shops and gourmet pizzerias. You can head even further north to Olivos, a northern suburb just outside of the city limits. To get to Olivos, take a taxi or the Mitre train to its final station. Use Plaza Olivos as your destination. This leafy square is surrounded by beautiful buildings and an ivy-covered church. Relax here, then walk a few more blocks to the port, Puerto de Olivos. For lunch or coffee, visit Mostrado Santa Teresita, a modern cafe with a waterfront view. I hope this guide answered all of your questions about what to do in Buenos Aires. A city this large and this lively is filled with enough activities to keep you busy for weeks, and trying to squeeze as much as possible into just a few days can feel daunting. I did my best to compress the top Buenos Aires attractions, neighborhoods, foodie activities, and day trips into concise and easy to follow bullet points. Do all of the above and you'll have done the best things to do in Buenos Aires. Will there be more to see? Of course, there always is. So I hope you fall in love with the city as much as I have, so you can keep coming back. So I might just leave it there, guys. I think the video is long enough already. I was going to read one more blog, but it doesn't seem like it's necessary. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, let me know if there's any other places you're interested in, or maybe you just want to recommend something to me. I think maybe the next video I will look at Cape Town in South Africa. That's been on my radar for a little while as well. And thanks again so much for recommending me to look at Buenos Aires. It's gotten me excited again to go back to South America. Yeah, so thanks guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.